Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders of Transformation. You know, in the life of an entrepreneur and business owner, there is a point where you just can't do it all by yourself. And so we have a guest on our show today who is going to talk about several things. We're going to talk about charity, we're going to talk about movements, but we're also going to talk about the business that he developed, which is a virtual assistant business. And so he helps people to outsource. And so I'm really excited here to have Daniel Ramsey with us. And Daniel is the founder and CEO of MyOutDesk, which is the highest rated virtual assistant company in the marketplace. They have hundreds of five-star reviews, over 10 years of experience, and have served more than 5,000 clients. So they kind of know what works and what doesn't work. So Daniel, I'm really excited to have you here. Welcome, Leaders Transformation.
Thanks, Nicole, for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And just a little bit more background on Daniel. He is a longtime licensed real estate broker, mortgage broker, general contractor. He built the real estate's #1 staffing agency. And back in 2008, that's when he started MyOutDesk. And, you know, there's some really interesting things that he's doing with it, not just creating a company, but creating a movement around it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So why don't we start off, Daniel? That's like a really quick overview.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your passion and how you're creating transformation in the business world.
Well, it's a great question, and it's pretty simple. Large corporations have been able to outsource since the 70s and 80s. In fact, we share Reading in common. I'm from a place called Reading, California, and my father, when I was in the 3rd grade, lost his job because of NAFTA, like wildly enough, right? NAFTA came and a factory moved from Reading, California down to Mexico. And so as a kid, I got hit by the outsourcing thing, and my own family was affected by it. And rather than, crying about it or being upset about it, we're embracing it. And so when you think about transformation, what's happening now, technology has created really what we would consider a flat world. You can hire people anywhere in the world. They can plug into your systems and use phones and videos like what we're on right now, regardless of where you are in the world, and really help you grow and scale a business. And so I'm really excited about bringing this opportunity of outsourcing to the SMB space, the small and medium-sized business space, where, if you need a graphics person, we have one. You need a admin, we can help you. Operations, we can help you. Sales, we can help you. And so we're really, I'm just really excited because our clients are representing, not only are we saving a lot of money, but we're helping them grow and scale.
Yes, and there's something else that you're doing that I remember you were talking about, which is, because you outsource to the Philippines and different parts
Yep.
of the world, and tell us a little bit about what you're also doing in the Philippines to help with orphanages and senior housing, and tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm part of a men's group. It's called Go Abundance, and it's kind of an interesting group. And one of their tenets is that you have to give back in some way. In fact, I'm wearing my wrestling hoodie on right now because when I joined that group back in, I think it was 2014 or 15, one of the questions is, what are you doing to change the world or impact the world or make it a better place? And I was like, I'm doing all these things. And they're like, no, Daniel, you're doing those things because they're your employees or the people that work for you in the Philippines. But what are you doing to really impact change or make a difference in the world? And I was like, okay, nothing. And literally, I had nothing. I owned businesses and I was helping people who were in the business, but outside of making money and giving back to my people, I didn't have any contribution. So I immediately started giving some time. So I'm a wrestling coach. And we also started a nonprofit where we do a whole host of things. We built a house in Ecuador this year. We built an old folks home for 60 people who were literally living on the streets. And gosh, we sent some kids to an entrepreneurial school who were from a low income area in Texas, believe it or not. We sponsored 100 kids to do that. And so we just gave to, there's a fundraiser in DC right now that's happening for cancer. I'm a 3-time cancer guy, so survivor. And so what we do though that is different and maybe transformative, is that we involve our clients. So just this year, 3% of our operating income actually is being plowed into impact and charity in the world. And so our clients, we're kind of leveraging our clients and for the dollars, right? And our people for the time and love, because everybody's giving 100% of their time and their attention to helping make impact in our charity, to really make an impact. So money, time, love, impact. That's kind of something that we're doing right now.
That is fantastic. And I love what that organization is about. And actually, that's Tim Rhodes, isn't it?
Yeah, Timmy. I wonder if
Yeah.
that's connected. In fact, he was the one. It was Tim's fault. He was like, Daniel, you're a selfish SOB. That's what he said. If you know Tim, that's exactly how he rolls. And and he was right. And so this is my 5th year coaching, where I contribute 25 hours a week actually to a coaching program for 4 months a year, which is like a part-time job, if you can believe it. And we started this charity, and we're really focused on trying to be a part of the world and be good stewards.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Well, we're going to have Tim on the show during the Start Your Movement series in the new year. So that's fantastic. And look forward to hearing more about that organization, how it's inspiring people to do that. So let's talk about when you started your charity. We'll come back, we'll circle back to the virtual assistant as well. But let's talk about it because we're talking about it right now, the charity. What were some of the things that you discovered along the way of starting that charity that were kind of unexpected? The things that you're like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. Good to know. I wish I knew that before.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And for your audience, I mean, this is a great example. When we set up the charity, I was looking for a model to follow because I was trying to find somebody else that we could model and kind of do, a very similar thing. I'm a big fan in business of like nothing special. Like the outsourcing has been around since the 70s and 80s. All I did with MyOutDesk was make it available for small and medium-sized businesses. That's it. We repackaged it. We added our little special sauce, but it's been around for 40, 50 years. So I wanted to do the same thing with our charity. I wanted to follow a model. What I found though is most charities don't measure impact, meaning they don't have a concrete way. And we found this charity who measured dollars donated, lives impacted. And I just thought, oh my goodness, what an interesting, great place. And then time. So for us, we found that a different charity that measured it in lives impacted and dollars raised or impacted into the community. I added time because, we have 1,200 virtual assistants in the Philippines and, about 15 folks in the US. So we measure how much time we do in contribution. And I just think that's a good way to get people involved. So what I found was there wasn't really a model like what I wanted to do. So that was kind of like, whoa, that was new. So now we follow that time, money, lives impacted, and we call it the charity impact model. And we think it's probably the right way charity should be ran. The other thing is most charities, 50% of their revenue goes to overhead. And I didn't want that for us. And so all of our people contribute their time as part of, their charitable contribution piece.
So that model that you're talking about, and even the 100%, so 100% of it goes to the people that need it the most and the purpose of the charity. And that's why you have it. How do you build that into your business model?
Right.
Like how do you, and when you talk about measuring and so forth, practically speaking, how does somebody do that if they said, wow, you know what, I want to start a charity? Because that's where, our audience are entrepreneurs, and many of them, like yourself, are busy making their business, making their business successful, but they're not necessarily doing anything beyond that. In fact, I get a lot of them that want to be on my show, and they're like, hey, I'm creating transformation because I'm a super awesome coach, or I'm doing this or doing that, which is fantastic. And what are you doing beyond that that's making a difference in the community, which is what you're talking about. And so as people are starting to think about hearing this and then thinking about how could they implement it, what would they need to know? How do they implement that model for themselves?
Well, one of the drivers for us is to include our clients, and we haven't. And I'm just going to be fair and honest. We haven't figured out a clear path to that. We tell our clients that we do this stuff, and we're very vocal about how we're making an impact. And we tell every single person that comes in the door, "Hey, by the way, we have this charity. The money that you give to us really kind of helps. We spend a percentage of that, making impact." But ideally, what I'd like to see happen, and we're moving towards the vision over time, is taking the collateral that we create, so videos, like we built an orphanage for 50 kids, we built a old folks home. There's wall space there for our clients to put their logo and have their team come over with us. And so we're working on, for 2020, a trip where a select handful of our larger, more involved clients can be a part of what we do and actually wrap that charity model into their day-to-day so they can add it to their value proposition for the clients. My hope is that will help us explode and really get more volunteers and kind of community participation. But that we don't know yet. So that's kind of the direction that we're trying to go.
Yeah, got it. Well, there's a gentleman, and I can't remember if I mentioned his name to you or not, but I had him on the show, Martin Barrett. And what he did is he started Sozo Gifts, and him and his buddy, they were trying to figure out, his buddy came back from a missions trip and was trying to figure out how can they make more of an impact to their business.
Yeah.
And so they started Sozo Gifts. And then from there, so every time somebody would purchase from them, a portion would go to charity. And then somehow they discovered that because they had these dealerships that were using these were corporate gifts that they're giving out, so they were using them. And what he noticed is, he said, some dealerships do it, use it more, and some use it less. Some are more generous with their, charity giving. Some are less, and there was no way that the customer would know which were giving more, which were more generous than others. And
Right.
the other piece with that, which was really interesting, is that when they were generous, let's say a company, let's say Lexus, for example, they're being generous and they're saying, hey, these are all the things that we're doing. It's like you saying, hey, we're doing all these things, and clients and customers are going, well, awesome, good for you. What he realized is that the only reason why you're able to be generous is because you have customers that buy your cars or use your services. And so what he did is he created this agency, the Generosity Agency, which sets it up so that they have the customers actually involved in the process. And so when you buy a car, then what happens is, hey, a certain portion of that goes to a charity. Which one would you like? Which bucket? Right? They have different buckets in terms of the different areas of cause, and that it can go into those areas. And then what they can do, which is really interesting, is that then they set up this marketing. You know how usually you buy a car and then you get marketed like, hey, here's the next sale. And it's like, I just bought a car. I'm not probably going to buy a car for a while. And so, people try to remarket to their same customers over and over again. And I'm just thinking about you as like a solution, possibly something to integrate with what you're doing. And so then what they do is they send emails, and so they'll keep in touch with their clients, not by trying to sell them another thing, but they keep them in touch because it's not just what they bought, the car they bought, it's the collective pool of all the customers, and saying, hey, here's the impact that you all are creating. Exactly. Yeah. So I like that.
Good idea.
So yeah, something that, might be, you can incorporate that. I know you like taking from other people and what other people have done. So what has been, let's shift gears to the business now. Obviously it's a competitive market, right? And there's a lot of people actually getting into the virtual assistant business. And so now you're taking a portion of your profits and allocating it here, to charity. So how are you able to balance that, you know what I mean? Like in terms of on your balance sheet and working that out in terms of how you continue to grow your business and so forth, right? From a revenue standpoint and allocation of your resources.
Well, yeah, we're talking about that right now because it's towards the end of the year, and so we're budgeting and we're really preparing for like, hey, and started off, I give $2,000 here or $5,000 here, and then it became like 50, and then it was like, oh my goodness, this year actually we'll have our first 6-figure year in charity. So it all starts with budgeting, though. I mean, we have a very clear process where we're looking at how much revenue do we have, how much is, going out the door, and in what buckets do we need to kind of invest. And, to be frank, when it comes to charitable contributions, I think you can't be in the struggle mode. And I tell people that all the time, because if you're in the just building a new business, or you've got multiple businesses and you're trying to figure it out, or you're building your model, then now is not the time to, kind of focus on charity. It's the time to scale and grow your business. So we've been very fortunate with 1,200 folks working for us that we've kind of gotten over that hump of revenue kind of cycling up and down. When you're a new entrepreneur, you have great months and you have bad months, and I've been through all of that. And so, to control our revenue, it's all about our budgeting process, making sure we have a clear head count. One thing that I love, Nicole, and I'll share this with your audience, is we do org charts a lot different than anybody. I've never even heard, maybe you have, but I've never heard of somebody doing it this way. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening right now, we draw the line and then we put the position, the person. So the position is like the outcome that we're going after. Like, what do we want for this position? The job title, the person's name, and all of the systems that they're running for us or for one of our clients. So we do this for our clients too. We'll talk to them about, what system are they running? What's their process? And then we also categorize them. Is it operations or is it sales and marketing? Because for us, sales and marketing, it's what drives all revenue growth. It's how a company gets to scale, unless you're a weird Google or some other technology company that I'm jealous of all the time, right? So the hack here, or the shortcut that we use, is we're just really clear about the position, the outcome for that position, and the systems that are inside that position, and what we need to get from that role, whether it's operations or sales. And so through the right strategic, budgeting process, as well as a great org chart, we control our expenses and our revenue so that we can afford to do good impact charitable work.
Awesome. Now,
long answer, right?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. That's what I was looking for, some specific things that people can action on. Now, you have your book, Scale with Virtual Professionals, and in there, you talk about your 7-figure business roadmap. So, which I thought was really good, by the way. I mean, it's just like, wow, you really break it down into detail, a lot more than you would expect from someone who's talking about virtual professionals, in a book. But you're talking about the model to growth in that. So can you talk a little bit about that? Obviously it's in the book. Go get a copy of the book. And actually, this is a good opportunity. How do they get a copy? I know you have a free electronic copy that you're giving to our listeners. How do they get a copy of that?
Yeah, in fact, our publisher just put together the Amazon link and the ebook version. So soon people are going to have to buy it. But now we've got a pre-order version. So if you text the letter SVP, so it's Scale with Virtual Professionals, or Sam Victor Paul, if you text that letter, those 3 letters, to 31996, and it's 31996, you'll get a free copy of the book. We just send it to you in a PDF. It's a great little read. It's a little, I think it's 114 pages. But don't worry, I'm an entrepreneur. A lot of pictures in this book, okay? A lot of pictures, a lot of graphs. So what it does, for anybody who's listening is interested, why, we instantly scale growing companies with virtual assistants. Like, that's what we do. It's how we serve people. And we've done it now 5,000 times. So what happens is these patterns come up, Nicole. They're just patterns. And you're like, okay, this person's in the middle stage, or this person's a beginner stage, or this person's, grown an amazing business, but they need to scale now, right? And so all of these conversations that we've had as an organization, we kept track because we have a CRM. And so we not only do we land them in the 7-figure business roadmap, but we also record what their 3 top biggest challenges are, so we can understand what they need in order to grow. And so you'll get all of that. I put my heart and soul, 12 years of this crazy brain in that book. So I would definitely get a copy if you're listening.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah, when I was going through it, and it was the I do it, we do it, they do it, that
Yeah.
process of going through that was fantastic. So let's talk about the virtual assisting. When is it time to start looking at doing that? Let's do that as a starting point.
I love it. You like me. So the beauty is this business was started because I had time management issues. Like, you'll love this story. I'm on my honeymoon. I'm in Guatemala, married 2 days, got a shiny little gold ring on, and my wife is in the cabana. We're in a Guatemala in a Francis Ford Coppola resort. So monkeys all over, rainforest. There's this beautiful lake out there, and it's just we spent the whole day climbing through the rainforest and like doing it was crazy jungle stuff, right? Really fun stuff. Yeah. And I was at the bar at 1 o'clock at night typing away on my laptop, and the bartender stole my phone and took a picture of me and was like, started making fun of me in Spanish. So your question, if you find yourself working on weekends, working evenings, not being able to walk away from a phone, you find yourself struggling to find great talent, if you find yourself, gosh, my revenue hasn't grown in 3 years, what's going on? That's when you need to call us. And what we do is we help kind of put together a plan. We get very structured about who's on the team and what do you need to do, or who do you need to hire in order to double your business. And that's basically how we serve, is we provide consultation services. We look at your org chart, your systems, your revenue, and then we find out who we can kind of, put into your office to really help you grow and scale.
And do you work with like the micro business owners as well as the larger business? Like who's your ideal audience? Obviously, bigger businesses is great, but there's a lot of small business owners and what I call micro business owners that are, that could use some help.
Yeah, I love your question. Here's how you would know, like, if you're around 250 to 500,000 in revenue, that's typically when you can afford to hire some virtual assistants, and that's when you can start thinking about building out a team and making that transition from an I do it to a we do it. So a real clear number for us is 250 to 500,000 in revenue. And it's very easy, and we have a ton of those clients who are in that space and who just need help. Like, I'm like, my CRM, I'm never in there, or I need my website updated, or I need to post some videos on social media, and I've never done that. And so we just help people exactly where they are and figure out what the plan will be. And then there's a whole bunch of working virtuals new and different. So you've got to have the right systems, and you got to have the right thought process, and the training is different because they're virtual. So we help kind of support you through all that too.
And you help them to find the right people that's a fit for them?
Yeah, so and you'll laugh. This is crazy. I don't know if I told you this before, but here's what's crazy. When you hire our people, like, they do an FBI grade background check. So first of all, FBI grade. So, I mean, people that walk into your US-based office, they don't get that level. You're lucky for a credit check, right? But we do a background check. Then we send them to a doctor, and they do a physical so that we know that they're healthy. We check where they work. We're logging into their systems to verify their internet speed, what kind of computer they have, what systems they have, so that they can show up day one and be, impactful in your business. So we're doing a ton of stuff up front to make a long-term relationship, because there's a couple sites out there like Upwork and Fiverr, and they're project-based. So if you're under 200,000 in revenue, jump on that train. It's great. You can get project-based stuff or part-time help. But if you need some full-time, folks, that's what we do. And it's, we'll help you scale and grow.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, uh, just in terms of like for yourself personally, I mean, you've been on this journey, you've owned businesses, you've been very successful. Now I could tell you just love what you're doing and
Yeah.
you're loving life. What has been your biggest challenge personally?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm just going to be clear. If you're listening right now and you're an entrepreneur, I can tell you it's your challenge too. It's always talent, man. Every CEO that I ever talked to, every leader I've ever talked to, it's like, I need more people, or I need better people, or I need to learn how I need to lead them better. Like that's the one that everybody forgets about, but I can tell you I'm challenged. I'm aggressive. So, I was talking with my wife, you'll love this. Talking to my wife, I'm like, what's it like being married to an entrepreneur who's crazy, and she's like, well, I've learned a lot. I used to, I'd get a barrier and then she says that she'd find a barrier and then she'd be like, oh, well, I give up. But what you've taught me is how to problem solve and just be more creative and just figure it out. And she's like, and that was never me, 15 years ago before we got married, and so, you're asked, what am I challenged with? I'm always challenged because I have really high expectations, really high goals. And my brain works differently because I'm an entrepreneur. So that's the challenge that I'm constantly slapped in the face. I've lost a lot of great talent, really high caliber talent. I've lost that over my 17 years of being an entrepreneur. And I look back at it and it was like, it was all me, not them. It's like, so those are always the challenges. And if you're really in business, your people are always your biggest challenge. And sometimes there's these things that happen, but typically when you have the right team, you win Super Bowls. That's it.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, Daniel, thank you so very much for spending a little bit of time. I know you're off to the wrestling club to
Yep.
pick up your kids and to help them out. But for our listeners, I encourage you go get a copy of. And right now, if you're listening to this shortly after this recording is released, then you can still get a free copy, electronic copy of the book, and we'll make sure that information is in the show notes. And if not, regardless, go buy the book. It's going to be very valuable. You can find it on Amazon. Scale with Virtual Professionals, and really, really awesome. And we'll make sure also the links in the show notes will be there so you can connect with Daniel. You can connect with MyOutDesk to make if you're at that point and you're saying, hey, I need to develop my talent. I need to develop a team around me. You have a big vision and you got to have people that are going to help. If I always say, if your vision is such that you can do it all by yourself, then your vision is not big enough. And so you're going to need a team in order to help you to do what it is that you're truly capable of doing. And business is all about relationships. And one of the most important relationships are, that is with your team. So it's with your clients, but it's also with the team that you have to help you deliver and do what you do with excellence. So I encourage you to get a copy of Daniel's book, go find out more about what they're doing. And we look forward to hearing your stories. You're as entrepreneurs who are listening out there, as a coach, I get to hear a lot of stories from entrepreneurs. And I love hearing those stories. It's like, wow, I implemented this and this is what this has meant for me. Even like we were talking about earlier in the conversation about how can you start to be generous? How can you start to help beyond your business? And whether that's on a small scale when you're starting out or larger when you're later on, when you're successful and you're at the point with Daniel, where they're able to give 6 figures into a charity. Awesome. We'd love to hear those stories, and you can find us on social media. You can find us on leadersoftransformation.com. And of course, send us a message there. But we just love to hear your stories, how you're making an impact in the world and through your business. So we'd love to hear that. And also, I just really appreciate you being here, appreciate you listening and supporting this show. And we would love if you enjoy this particular episode, but also all the episodes. We've got 295 episodes previous to this. Then I would love for you to help us by doing giving us a rating and review on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform where you listen to this podcast. We would love if you could do that as well. That would really help us. So we thank you. We appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Leaders of Transformation real soon.